Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is episode 20. That is right, 20 of PK's Place. I hope everyone's doing very well as of late. Hopefully, your 2022 is off to a really good start. I mean, it's probably not as bad. It's probably way better than mine's gotten off to. So you're listening to this on a Thursday. So what I'm going to say is past tense, but I just got over having COVID. Yeah, I tested positive about 10 days ago, 11 days ago. So I tested positive on the 3rd, just after the whole New Year's thing. And there have been a number of people that I knew that have been around that had it and that also tested. So, I had been making sure I was doing what I needed to do to stay away and make sure that, I was isolating so that I wouldn't give anyone else Omicron. Honestly, I did not have a lot of symptoms. Really, the main one, which wasn't even, at least this is my experience, I can't speak on anyone else, but for me, it wasn't even that bad. It was mainly just like slightly congested. I think it was like a day or two or so before I got tested. My mom on the phone with me, she's like, "You kind of sound a little stuffed up." So that's what it was. But honestly, like I didn't really feel that bad. Like even at my house, we have in the garage, there's some weights. So I went to work out in the garage and I didn't feel bad at all. I was able to move the weight while I felt fine. So it's just good that I'm able to, get out of the house and get out of the house now and be able to kind of get back into society, because that's what ultimately I want to do, is to be able to go out there and do my thing. So yeah, even other things that have kind of happened. So obviously, like I talked about the whole, Antonio Brown situation, and there's a little bit of pushback at first, that they were like, "Oh, he hasn't technically been released quite yet, but now officially he's gone." And I saw he was at the Brooklyn Nets game. And the question I have is, because you have to be vaccinated to go to a game at the Barclays Center, Madison Square Garden, anywhere in New York City. Is anyone willing to bet out there that he used that fake vaccine card that got him in trouble with the Bucks to get into the game? Now, I don't know, maybe he has gotten vaccinated. If anyone out there at home knows if he has, then that's great. Like, just let me know. I mean, if he has, then it's no issue. If he has for real, there's no issue. But if he still hasn't and he's using that fake vax card, that's crazy, because that was the first thought that popped into my head about that. And then obviously he's been doing the media tours, like going on Nelk's podcast and all these different things, releasing the song "Pit Not the Place," doing cameos. So yeah, it's the whole thing is crazy. But even sticking with that football talk, the NFL has their playoff scenario. And by the way, I gotta say, for anyone who watched on Sunday, there was a pretty but interesting scenario that was playing out. So the Colts needed to win against the Jaguars, and the Jaguars have beaten the Colts. I think they're 7-0 or something like that. Again, like they've beaten them every year pretty much since 2015, especially at home. And the interesting thing to me is that with a Colts loss, that would mean the Chargers and Raiders, who played on Sunday night in Vegas, they would have needed a tie to get into the playoffs. So I was told about this on Friday or Saturday, and basically a friend of mine and I were joking. We're like, what if the game was just them taking the knee the whole game? Now, obviously, for legitimate purposes, that didn't happen, and that never would happen. But just the thought of it is so funny to me, and the internet obviously took it and ran with it. And even crazier, obviously, we'll just start with that game, talking about it. But what's even crazier to me is that the game is coming down to the wire. Chargers need to tie it, and with 2 seconds left, there's 2 seconds left on the play clock. It's snapped to Herbert. He throws a touchdown pass, tie game, 29 all. So in overtime, both teams exchange field goals, so it's 33 all. And if it wasn't for Joe Staley, I mean, or is it Joe Staley or Branson? I forgot. Sorry. If it wasn't for Staley, Coach Staley, if it wasn't for him calling that timeout, honestly, I think the Raiders would have just taken a knee and tied it, because the scenario was if they both tied, they would have made the playoffs. So that almost happened. But then the Raiders, when the timeout was called, they're like, "No, we're just gonna go win the game." So the Raiders go out there and Daniel Carlson kicks the field goal to send them into the playoffs. Now, I am someone, I just want to put on the record. I don't like ties. I hate ties. I hate when it happens. Like when the Steelers tied the Lions, disgusting, like stupid. But the thought of a tie in this scenario was so funny to me. I was all in. I'm like, this needs to happen. I really wanted it to happen. I thought it would have been so funny if it did. And and even all you people out there, I hate to call you out, but those people who say like sports are rigged, like I'm sorry, you're morons. I'm sorry. You can't say that it's rigged. The best thing about sports is the fact that no one knows the outcome of any of this. So if you think that someone's making this work, like it's like someone's moving chess pieces to make this happen, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, Raiders get into the playoffs. They sneak in. Steeler fans were just on edge the whole game because they obviously beat Baltimore, and they still had the chance to make the playoffs with one of those teams losing, where I thought a tie would have been even funnier. But they get in. So the matchups that we got for the playoffs are, well, I mean, week 18 was electric too. I mean, even like the 49ers could have almost – the 49ers early in that game were blowing it. They were down 17-0 in the second quarter. They ended up making it 17-3. So McVay is going up in the half. And I don't know what was going on. Jimmy G was, himself, like he's inconsistent. Some games he looks really good, and then other games or other parts of a game he sucks. So he wasn't playing very well, particularly. But then then they get back to their game and they come back. They kick a field goal in overtime, and then Stafford has the chance to keep it alive, going to OBJ, picked. 49ers win, end of the game. So 49ers make the playoffs. The Saints do not, which would have been a weird circumstance. But yeah, all in all, it's just wild. And then I'm stupid. I'm going to say this. The New York Giants. Oh my God, you Giants fans. Giants fans, how mad are you that you guys ran a QB sneak in basically on like the 3 or 4 yard line? I can't remember. It was deep in your territory. And on 3rd and 9, what are you doing? What is going on? It's honestly something like play calls like that make me curious as to why why Joe Judge is coming back. It's crazy. I can't understand it for the life of me. I really, really can't. It's bizarre. That was a weird play. Also, the team they played, Washington, getting the win. Their last win as the Washington football team, as they will be obviously getting a new name in February. So we'll see what that name is. Yeah, and then obviously some other firings, like Vic Fangio fired. He didn't really do much with the Broncos. Mike Zimmer from the Vikings wasn't great. Made the playoffs I think like once or twice. I can't remember. Made it a few times. I think the big one, Matt Nagy and Pace fired in Chicago. I mean, Bear fans talk to me like how much of a relief is this? Because Nagy, obviously, like they had a good first year when they won the division, but ever since then, it's just never been the same. Nagy's an idiot, quite frankly, and he's just not a good coach anymore. So I thought it was time for a change. Pace too. I thought that was something like that. I thought it was needed that they needed a change. And then Brian Flores gone in Miami. I mean, if it wasn't for like the last half of the year, you could have saw it coming. I mean, they started 1-7, like 1-8. It was insane. Which, speaking of that, them beating the Patriots, I will say probably one of the weirder stats I've ever seen in a sport is, for those that don't know, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback, he was 9-0 this year, 9-0 against quarterbacks who had a letter O in their last name. So that was 2 against Mac Jones, Mike Glennon, Cam Newton, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco. There were a few others in there. And then obviously he was 0-8 against guys who didn't have it, like Josh Allen twice, Brady, Derek Carr, Carson Wentz, like all those. So just probably one of the weirder stat lines out there. But enough of week 18. We got the playoff matchups. So in the NFC, the bye is obviously the Packers. I mean they earned it. I mean they're humming right now. They're playing really well. I mean Rodgers might win his second MVP in a row. We'll see about that. Which, by the way, that reporter in Chicago, and I feel like Bear fans, I get it. I mean Rodgers does own you guys. I mean the numbers don't lie, but the guy not voting for saying he's not voting Aaron Rodgers for MVP because he's a bad person. And then Rodgers gets asked this in the media and he just goes, well, that guy's a bum. It's so funny to me. Just that he goes out and goes after that guy. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. So they're humming. The 2-7 game is the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Eagles. That's a little interesting matchup. 3-6 game is the Cowboys and the 49ers. And then the 4-5 is an NFC West matchup, the Rams and the Cardinals. So if I had to make predictions here, and mind you, grain of salt, I don't believe I'm going to be right with a lot of these. These are going to be very wrong, and I probably will get exposed for some of these takes in the next few weeks as the playoffs unfold. But if I had to guess, I would say the divisional round is going to be Packers, Bucks, Rams, and 49ers. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of a 49ers guy, but I do think that they can beat the Cowboys, especially the way they run the ball. I mean, Arizona ran the ball against them and won. So then out of that, it's going to be Packers, 49ers, and Bucks, Cowboys. This might be stupid to say, but I think it's going to be Packers and Bucks again. Although the Cowboys could sneak in there, but I don't know. It's like never get bet against Brady. The only thing I'll say this time, I actually do think, I hate to say it, but I do think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers make it to the Super Bowl. Now, who he's going to face in the NFC side? So the NFC, surprisingly, the Tennessee Titans are the number 1 seed. Surprisingly, they get the bye. The Chiefs are number 2. They're playing the Steelers, who snuck in. I mean, Steelers. I'll get to that one in a sec. The 3-6 game is going to be an AFC East matchup, Bills and Patriots. That'll be a good game. I'm looking forward to that one. And then the 4-5 is the Bengals and the Raiders. So for me, it's going to be Titans, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals. I know I'm not picking any ups. I know it's like, oh, you just picked 1 through 4. Like, I have no upsets, but I think that's how it is. And not to say I told you so, but there are Patriot fans out there that I said Buffalo's winning the division this year. And I'm not a Bills fan. I'm just predicting it. And they did. So I told you so. And I think they're going to, and especially if there's no bad weather, because that bad weather game, Belichick being such a great coach that he is, just knows what to do in that environment, and he executed that game plan well. But when they were in Gillette and there was no bad weather, the Bills were better. So I think it's going to be that way. So it's going to be Titans. So then it's going to be Titans, Bengals, and then Chiefs, Bills. I think it's going to be Bengals and Chiefs. Weird take. Bengals and Chiefs AFC Championship game. And I think it's going to be the Chiefs. So I think it's going to be Packers and Chiefs. And I think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. Hate to say it, but I think they're going to win it. Aaron Rodgers, MVP of the Super Bowl. And then I think he leaves after that. Maybe he doesn't, but I think it'd be great if he wins and then just says peace. But yeah, that's my Super Bowl predictions. We'll see how it plays out. In today's interview, actually, first interview of the year, surprisingly, is with a good friend of mine, Lawrence Miller. Lawrence Miller is a former U.S. Marine. He's a military member, veteran. So this was a really good interview. We talked for about an hour. We chatted about a lot of important subjects in terms of military relations and relationships with veterans. Without further ado, we're going to send it over to Lawrence Miller. All right, our next guest is a former U.S. Marine. So first off, thank you for your service. He is a good friend of mine, Lawrence Miller. What's going on, Larry?
What's going on, big man? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Just trying to stay warm here in Michigan. So we finally got some snow. Maybe Santa Claus dropped off some snow because we definitely have a white Christmas, but we definitely have one now.
Yeah, it definitely came late for sure. So yeah, how are you holding up these days?
I'm doing good, man. Just taking life one day at a time. And some great words of wisdom I received a while back was, you have to be patient and trust the process. And one day at a time, that's all we can control. We can't change the past. We can't control the future. All we can do is impact today.
I think that's very well said. So like I mentioned off the top, you served in the U.S. Marines. So my first question I wanted to ask was basically, what do you think needs to change in terms of how the relationship between an army, like a veteran, whether it's Marine, Air Force, Coast Guard, any branch of the armed forces, how does that relationship between them and like society, how does that have to kind of evolve so that armed people in the armed forces feel more included when they re-enter the civilian population?
I think that's a huge question. I've had many discussions about this, but there's two scopes of that. The first scope is the individual like myself who volunteered to make the ultimate sacrifice and realized if I were to complete all the training and do everything I wanted to do, there's a possibility I would never come back alive. But the overall ability to protect and impact others from around the world was something I was really heavy on my heart, and I wanted to challenge myself too, physically and emotionally and mentally. And then you get the other part of society say, oh well, they signed up for it, so whatever they get in return, they deserve it. So there's a huge gap there. And then another component a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of people that quote unquote say they help, but those help dollars are for instance, a lot of nonprofits or a lot of companies who say they want to help or stuff like that. Some for every dollar donated, like 3 cents only actually goes to the veterans of that need the help. The rest of it is funneled into salaries, bonuses, all that type of stuff. But then you also have the organizations that do help, and I've been lucky enough to meet a handful of those throughout my return since getting back over a decade ago. But there's a ton of work to be done. There's a ton of ideas, and there's a ton of impact that can really be done to actually impact. And then another component is the VA healthcare system, which disabled veterans are part of once they return. And to be honest, it's the most corrupt system in America. It's ran like a big business. The more people they kill at the end of the line, the less money, the bottom line is smaller that they've shovel out every month. So when they say they want to help or work, there's so much red tape, so many hoops, but it's fundamentally like that. So it's deter people from actually getting the help or make it extremely impossible to get better. So I could go on and on, but there's a lot of components that are going on a daily basis.
Yeah, so first thing that comes to my mind is that this is not a simple issue, that there's a lot of moving parts and it's complex. My question to you is, why do you think there is such a disconnect in terms of how things should be handled and the way that they actually are?
So in my military service, there's a numerous times where I got hurt or, I suffer service-connected disabilities from. A lot of people don't know because you reach such a pinnacle of training or your job or stuff like that, and you're just nothing's wrong with you. You're the Terminator. If you're injured, just keep going. It's fine. It'll be okay. But at the end of that is you're just a number. You're expendable. And I think that's really the disconnect. Is they want you to feel like you're inhuman. You don't have any emotions. You're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to love. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to be happy. You're supposed to do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told, for the rest of your life, no matter what. And if you don't, then they will make life completely miserable for you.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really not talked about that much in this whole conversation, is the fact that it's like, obviously in the armed forces, you have the drill instructor and they tells you it's regimented, as you know, you got to do this when at this time. And as I say, but I think that's crazy that it's not talked about enough that you, like you said, you can't just even be like the basics of a human and you can't be emotional. I think that's wild to me. And I think a lot of people will find that crazy that you can't just be who you are. It's like you have to be someone you're not.
No, I totally agree. The last year of my life has been really difficult, but to be honest with you, it's the most I've cried in my entire life. Um, but a lot of that is learning to be human again, and learning that it's okay, and learning. And then there's a whole nother aspect is you're an alpha male, or the whole male instinct of not only being a man, but being on top of that military. And then what I did in the military, being such a small group, and you're not allowed to be share emotions. You're not allowed to, and if you are, then you're garbage. See you, goodbye, talk to you later. You're not. It's so the stigmatisms and the culture and society about it is so hidden is a great word.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's something that we need to normalize, and I actually thank you for sharing that. I think as a society, we need to normalize that men do cry and that it's not embarrassing if men do. It's men are allowed to show emotion. I think that the fact that you've cried multiple times this year, I don't think when you say that, I didn't think for 1 second that you're a weak person, because that's not at all what it means.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring into the military side of it a component where obviously you're trained to do certain things, and you can't show emotion. You have to go off for split second judgments and situations, and I understand that, and I understand why, because I was there. But when you're back home and you're trying to figure out who you are as an individual, soul searching, finding your purpose, um, that's when it's almost like untapping foreign waters to understand, like, how am I supposed to react, and if I do react in those certain situations, um how am I going to be judged, or how am I going to be looked at. There's a lot of complexities of it, and for myself, that's all I can really speak on. I know others like me, but it's extremely hard. And for someone to say that it's easy, or it comes overnight, or it there's a book to read about it, it's not. And it's lonely at times. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Is there was so in your path to discovery and trying to rediscover who you are and what you want to do passion wise, what advice would you give to anyone who is basically going through the same situation, whether they're in the armed forces and a veteran like you, or even if they lost a part of their life ended and they need something else to continue with?
So my biggest thing, and what I really want to do and continue to work on, is letting people know they're not the only one. They're not alone, and that's how I want to connect people to be able to um, have like a group or someone to shoot a text to, or give a phone call to, and say like, hey, I'm having a really hard day. I don't know what to do, but it's really dark. I want to lean on you, or I need to lean on you because today I'm not strong. Because a lot of people, veterans or military, they all internalize everything, and one of the biggest things they do is they seclude, they go hide, they basically go in hiding. And like, I mean, that's what I've done, or in my past, is like I like hibernate, and you go through, and it's not a fun place. Um, but you try to figure out in your mind, and who can I trust, who can I rely on, who can I ask questions to, who can I be vulnerable to, who can I get help from. And I think the biggest thing is the people around you that will support you no matter what. Good day, bad day, success, failure, redemption, climbing a ladder or falling down the ladder, a lot of veterans, they come back and they're just known as a number or their last name. And you try to come back into this world, and so many people perceive and post judgment on you like that, and it's really hard. Now, I'll give you a crazy example. Recently, in the past year, I was looking at houses, and there was a realtor that spoke to another person in the housing business, and they relate a really alarming message about veterans. And the one realtor said that, the words that were exchanged were, "I wouldn't work with a veteran because you don't know how many babies and mothers they've killed." And it comes down to ignorance when it comes down to what's actually being said in today's society. And people think like, "Oh no, that's not happening. That's not happening." It's happening every day. It's happening all throughout the country. Veterans are being judged whether they want to buy a house, buy a car, or if they're homeless or trying to just find shelter, or they're admitting they have PTSD, or they're admitting they need help with addiction, or they're admitting that they need help with the transition to normal life because their life isn't split second decisions anymore, and they're trying to unwind their brain to understand they have time to think, time to adjust, and time to figure out who they are. And it's that quiet space is filling that space with positive energy and positive people is probably one of the most difficult things that has to be done.
Absolutely. I think it's good that you're bringing the talk forward that having a support system is what's needed, because I think it's so underrated when you can look at your life and actually say, I have a good support system that you can go to if you have a problem, if you need something. And it's not easy to find the right support system, but when you find it, there's not a lot of better things than having the right mix of people to be in your corner.
Yeah, and once you find those people that you want there, or you've been searching your whole life for, you'll do anything for them to make sure that they stay there. And the people that just want to see you fail or whatever, they'll do anything to try to get in the way of that. Ironically, we're holding the Zoom call today, and a good friend of mine over the holidays, the whole month of December, his mother lost a leg from being he's an Army veteran. His mother lost her leg, had to be amputated. Her husband passed away of cancer, and then his eldest son passed away all in the month of December. So today I'm going to actually a funeral for him, for his oldest son. But it's like situations like this, you find those, and you don't really know what to say, but you show up, because showing up means a lot more than any words can say during a time like this.
All right, quick commercial break brought to you, and this is just me pumping it again. We got Canada Dips here. I got the tangy citrus flavor. No nicotine, no tobacco, all natural American grown hemp. It's 10 milligrams a pouch. These not only have great flavor, but they feel good. They get me feeling relaxed every day. Reminder, that's going to be to go to the website. You can go to cannadipscbd.com. That is CANNADIPS CBD.com. Code Hughes15 HUGHES 15 at checkout. You're going to get yourself a nice 15% off of their wide selection of CBD dips and CBD products. This is a company that I'm not just pumping because I want to. I actually like the product and I believe in the brand. So go to cannadipscbd.com, code Hughes15 for checkout. And now back to more Lawrence Miller. 100%. I don't think it could have been said better than that. It's almost like when someone's going through a tough time, and all you can really do is just tell them to like bring it in. You give them a big hug, because that hug says more than any words you could say. And I think it's so underrated when you have people that can support you like that and that can, help you even through those tough times.
That's crazy. You talk about a hug, and when I was down the range, like uh, you think about. Uh, I can't tell you how many times I thought about I wanted to come back home and just get a hug. Like it's crazy what an actual hug will do, and you don't realize that until you're put in some extreme situations. But I definitely know the value of a hug. I definitely can relate to your comment.
Yeah, there's this guy, I think he's on TikTok. There's this guy who makes videos where he'll blindfold himself and he'll have a sign and it'll say if you're having a bad like free hug if you're having a bad day, or he'll like make signs like basically like if you're grieving or if you're this and you're that, come get a free hug. And you'll be surprised the amount of people that like open up to this guy and actually feel safe that a stranger's committing such a random act of kindness. It goes a
Yeah,
long way, honestly.
no, it does, and it's crazy. I totally agree with you. It's those people that aren't afraid of vulnerability and putting themselves in vulnerable situations that are able to grow and connect to an individual like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to your life, what was your parents' reaction when you told them that you were joining the armed forces?
Um, they they were really not that happy. I told them 7 days before I left for boot camp. Um, but my parents' support throughout my life has really been. If I'm doing something successful, then they're there. But if I'm not, then they disappear. If that makes sense.
Hmm.
Uh, so I made the choice and decision to tell them 7 days before I left, and that way I had the least amount of time to deal with the feedback and go. When I made the decision to go, I set goals for myself and for me to reach the top that I could in the military community and organizations in which I achieved, and that was my goal.
For sure. So, question now. So you said you told them a week before you were leaving. Did you ever think before you were about to tell them, did you ever think, what if I waited till like 1 to 2 days before I left? Do you think it would have been worse than you telling them the before?
I actually, looking back at it now, I wish I would have just told them 24 hours before I left and said peace.
Hmm. So why I know obviously hindsight's 2020, but why do you think you gave them that extra heads up of a week versus like a day before? Because if it was a day before, there's really nothing they can do at that point.
Uh to allow them that time to see if they'd change or come to life with a different perspective. Um, I guess it was the open heart within myself is why I did it.
Yeah, I can't honestly blame you for trying to get them to change. Obviously there's people out there listening and watching that unfortunately probably don't have the most supportive parents. How much does that kind of weigh on you, or at least growing up, how much did that kind of deter you from trying certain things? Like you said, if it's not going well, it's like they're just not even there.
Um, Growing up as an only child, I all I really had was sport growing up, and I funneled all of myself into sports. And and I kind of went with it, and I really didn't let it deter me. Um, if anything, it made me more angry, and I just pushed harder and found deeper levels to succeed or go after what I wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like as you got more successful, it's almost like you were in a way trying to show your parents that you can do it. And I do think it's unfortunate that there are parents out there that feel the need to discourage their kids from doing something, almost like what you were saying, because if a kid really wants to do something, they really want to commit their time and effort to do it. And if it fails, like it happens. Like failure is how we learn. So I think it's almost like just kind of a form of hating on it, if you ask me.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I've learned being a parent it's all the things that I want to change and learn to impact my children's lives. And, the players and kids I've worked with through sport is like, if anything, I want people to learn from my life so they don't have to go through it, or they can make a better educated decision so their life is impacted in a healthier, happier way.
For sure. So you did mention you were a parent. First off, I wanted to say congrats, as I think you have another kid on the way. So first
I
off,
do. I do.
congratulations. Yeah, congratulations. So something my dad has actually told me is the moment a child is like in one's life is born, it's almost like life really gets serious there, because you're not just looking after yourself. You have this other human being that you have to look out for. In what ways has parenting really changed your perspective on life and how you live?
The biggest thing I can say to that is tomorrow is never promised. When I was in the military, I knew that, but when you open yourself to learning how to love and be loved and be a parent and having a child on the way, I think that your heart is so much more like, you want to soak in as much as you can every day and do what you can in the moment to mentor, guide, inspire, and just love, and do your best to protect your children, your loved ones around you. That's the biggest thing I could say is tomorrow is never promised.
That's a great tagline to live by. I mean, obviously you just can't take any days for granted, especially like when you have kids. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And like, even if, like, God forbid, something were to happen, you would want your kids to be in the best possible situation that they can.
Yeah, I guess being a father, I want my kids to grow up with knowing that I I did right by them. I did everything that I could for them, uh, emotionally, mentally, and present, and let my actions speak for that, and just stay present with them. So that's kind of the aspect I take.
I like that. I like that. So what's one thing or one way you're going to try to something you're going to instill into your kids so that they don't become entitled, or, I guess, for lack of a better word, especially with like the generations coming up, they don't, they're not soft, or that they actually have some mental toughness in them.
I think discipline is huge. Um, the value of a dollar, and I guess just allowing them to know they can make mistakes and they don't have to be perfect, but allowing them to grow. And if you choose not to grow, that's where we're going to have problems. But if you do grow and learn and become a better human being, then that's one of the biggest things that as a father, to teach my children.
I think the two that you said I really like can stick with me are mainly are the value of the dollar. That's one, because it's crazy that until you get like on your own, and it's like that safety net's kind of gone. It's not like you're just using mom and dad's money now. You have to watch what you're spending, and you can't just be frivolous with it. You have to have a budget. You have to budget, obviously, and you have to make the right choices. So that, and then obviously the not growing part, obviously, like, I think that's huge for you to say that they're allowed to make mistakes, because there's so many people out there that they feel, oh, if I make a mistake, I'm screwed and I can't, my parents are gonna be mad. Where it's like, no, you can make mistakes. You got to learn from that mistake. You just can't let that mistake happen over and over again.
Life, I know, speaking for myself, my life has been full of mistakes or decisions where I was put in situations where the decision I made was either the right one or the wrong one, but I made the decision and I knew I was going to have to make a decision or a choice coming up pretty soon. But allowing yourself that that give to know that as a parent, like allow your children to make a choice. If it's good or bad, you mentor them, teach them, and love them through that and see that growth. Because when you see that growth as a parent, that's what you're looking for, because that's the most meaningful thing you can do. So growth and this idea of being perfect or imperfections or never make mistakes, that's completely a load of shit. Because sorry, I don't know if we can say that on the show.
Oh, I mean, not really. I mean, like so the thing I was so I've been doing is basically like pretty much every F word. I mean, if you say shit, that's fine. Like it's usually $2.50, but I'm donating it. It's everything's gonna be donated to like a food bank or like a charity of your choice kind of
All
thing.
right,
So
I like it, PK.
yeah, so we'll chalk that up. But I will piggyback off that. I think something I want to say to everyone listening is the notion that you're trying to be perfect. I think everyone needs to knock that off, because the reality is no one's perfect. Like think about it. If you had all the answers, you would never grow. That's so boring if you had all the answers. So I think that the sooner you can come to grips with the fact that you're not perfect, and that you could still grow, and you can make mistakes and learn from them, I think is very freeing mentally.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the people that you surround yourself through life, and people come and go from, as a child, high school, post high school, sports, career, whatever it may be. You can't let the fake people around you impact your heart, or what they say or how they say it. You gotta believe in yourself and go after things, even when people say it's impossible or you're crazy. I don't know how many times in my life I've been told I'm crazy. Um, but that's me. And you only have one life to live, and you have to live each day to the fullest. Um, but like I said in the beginning, is you have to be patient. You have to trust the process, and all you can do is live in the present. And as I get older, living in the present is something I'm really trying to embrace, and let everything else kind of take its course. But uh, just living in the present and actually living your life, um, living is something I'm really trying to embrace.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that needs to be said too is obviously this is the first episode. This actually one of the first interview I'm doing this new year. Something I want to say also is that the like if you look at like when you look back at different years, like 2021, 2020, 2019, and you think, was that a good year, was that a bad year? Recently I've stopped doing that, because you have to realize there's good and bad in every part of the year. So just because good bad things happen toward the end of the year or the beginning of the year, whatever it is, you can't really say that was a bad year, because there's ups and downs in every year. It's about just finding that balance. And I think once you find that balance, you can go about your life in a better way.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to look at it. And obviously being a little bit younger, PK, you have to realize that there's good and bad in every aspect of life, whether you're cooking a meal or picking a microphone out or making decisions. Like, people think that there's this easy roadmap like you're talking about. If there was a perfect roadmap, all perfect decisions, then this would be a bestseller, and like everyone would be doing it. But it's not, because life is so
Mhm.
dynamic. There's so many different, like, people don't realize, like, the world is a very big place, and there's a lot more countries out there than the United States, or whatever state you're in, or whatever town you're in, or whatever building you live in, or whatever cell phone device you're connected to. There's so much more out there, and there's human beings, and there's decisions being made every day. What people don't realize is that you have the ability to make your own decisions, and keep in your life those around you, and to make your own path and bubble, and it's not about years, or you got to take life day by day. Like, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can only go one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and I don't see the value in trying to fast forward time. I mean, I think a skill or a thing that definitely helps people, I guess, if you want time to pass faster, is obviously if you plan things in advance and
Mhm.
not like dreading or not just being like, okay, 5 more days till this happens, but like still going about your day-to-day business, but knowing you have things planned, so that's something you can look forward to. I think that's like a helpful thing I've done, and I think other people can do that. If you have something planned, even if it's not like not just a vacation, but if it's, oh, I'm gonna do this with a friend, or I'm gonna do this by myself, or do that with like my partner, I think those things go a long way.
No, I totally agree. I was kind of taking the whole broad spectrum of life, but when you're talking about, scheduling those things to look forward to, um, spending time with the people that mean most to you, I think that's really, really good, especially when you're going through life and the ups and downs, saying you're having a bad day, but in a few hours or tonight, you get to go spend some one-on-one time with the person that means the most to you. That kind of get you through the rest of the day because you get to see them, or you're having a rough week in the office or school or whatever that you're doing. You're like, you know what, Friday night I get to go to watch the game, or I get to go to the movie, or I get to chat with so and so. So I think those are really important to schedule you time within that those positive positivities in your life.
Absolutely. And speaking of that you time, obviously I know it's, for you it hasn't been easy, obviously, since coming back from service with all the things going on in your head. But what do you make of the importance of just being alone in your own thoughts for a little bit? Because me personally, I find being alone in my own thoughts kind of freeing, or I find that it allows me to decompress at night before going to bed and obviously waking up every morning.
So that's a loaded question, BK. Being alone in my own thoughts has probably been one of the hardest things I've ever had to face, especially the last couple of years. Just from a unbottling and getting so many suppressed things out of me, and like understanding and feeling and emotions. So getting like processing those or seeing those within myself is hard, and it's not easy to admit that, but I take it day by day, and I do the best that I can. um just who I am and how I was raised is, you bury everything. You're not allowed to feel. Then obviously what I did in the military, you're not allowed to feel at all. So it's so many years of suppression, and then finally realizing, and it clicks, you're allowed to be a human and move forward. And you're like, I almost feel stupid when I'm trying to process these things, but I do my best every day.
Yeah, I commend you for obviously sticking with it. Obviously, it's not easy for you or any other armed service members who have seen things that the civilian, if the civilian were to see it, they would almost be traumatized. So I give you a lot of credit for sticking with it, and for better word, not giving up, and still finding that balance. And another, it leads me to this point. Have you, like, since getting back, have you gone to therapy, or have you thought of like going to therapy? And just for the sense of having someone that you can talk to, that obviously won't spill the beans to someone else, or won't say anything that's totally confidential, just to have a cathartic conversation with someone.
Yeah, so great question. I have went to therapy before, and within those therapy sessions, uh, you get judged, and it's like mind blowing, or you get opinionated. And but there's a handful of people on this earth that know my true story and what I've been through. Um, and in recent years, I've trying to figure out how to share that to people to better understand myself and what actually goes on in the military. Just haven't been able to put it all together. But I would wish no one ever to go through what I've went through. Um, but it's finding those handful of people that I did share it with, and I'm just able to share it and feel like, I got like some sort of boulder off my chest, and it allows me to breathe and feel a little bit
Mhm.
human again.
Yeah.
Uh, and
So
what I've
real
noticed,
good.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So going back to the therapy session where you said you feel judged or these things. So why do you think there is that stigma or that generalization about people who are veterans of the military or army or navy? that go to therapy?
Because the biggest thing for us to admit is that we need help. And once we admit that we need help, um, we're looked at as weak. And it's crazy to it's so nice. It's like if you're military and you get out of service and you're completely fine, you never say anything about it again. That's perfect, because that's what the U.S. military wants, or anyone within the military. But if you say, you know what, I'm broken and I got broken while I was in service, say an injury, or, you know, I'm struggling with this, you're admitting something and you're like, I just need help. Like, I don't know how to process this or whatever. You're like, it's automatically 180 and you're blackballed.
I think that's wild. The fact that, and obviously it's sad, but there's a lot of not just military men, but just men in general who aren't able to ask for help or don't want to get help because of the ego or because they don't want to be vulnerable. But the fact that you actually were like, no, I need help. I need someone to, guide me through this tough time to get on the better side. I think that's courageous. And the fact that people almost just kind of mock, or at least are saying like, oh, you're weak. I think that's pathetic personally, because you're doing what any human who wants to get better is doing. They're asking for help.
Yeah. And, you as myself, as a man and a father, you can only do what you can. And, it's almost, what's best for me, and the judgments and the stereotypes and the stigmatisms. You do the best you can in each situation, and take it day by day. But it's very eye opening. You know how the U.S. has a day for everything, or a month for so and so, or whatever.
Yes.
Like, veterans get one day, but what do you really learn about what's really going on with veterans? Like, what do you really know about Memorial Day or Labor Day? Or like, people in America, people just want a reason to party, a reason to drink, a reason to
not work
or spend money. But do you even know what's going on that day, and the people that are around that, and like what they're actually dealing with and what they're struggling with, and how you can help them? But they don't, because America, to be honest, is completely ignorant.
I do think that's actually a theme to the conversation, is ignorance. And I think that, and going back to the saying, everyone's heard this, but I'll say it again: ignorance is no excuse. Like, ignorance, not just ignorance of the law, but I just think ignorance in general is no excuse. There's no reason to just be totally ignorant about things. And I think with Veterans Day, and even anyone who's listening in Canada, Remembrance Day, and obviously Memorial Day, I always think they're important, because obviously, like, Memorial Day is tough for, yourself and other people in that community who have lost brothers. They've lost people that they've been fighting side by side with, and losing someone that you're close to like that is not easy. So I think if we can bring some awareness to the true meaning of, those days. And I'll even, actually, reminding me of that, when I started the podcast this last year, I had an episode on Memorial Day, and I actually spoke about what the true meaning of Memorial Day is. So I wanted to ask you, what is the true meaning of Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and obviously for Canadians, Remembrance Day? What are the true meanings for you?
Obviously, Memorial Day is taking a moment to share the lives that gave sacrifice. It has nothing to do with veterans. It has nothing to do with active duty military. It has to do with the men and women that actually made the ultimate sacrifice. And I lost quite a few close friends overseas, and something I still deal with today. And then I've also lost close friends from the battle after returning, of transitioning and suicide. So those are two huge hurdles. So Memorial Day is really trying to take taking a moment of your life and realizing, I wouldn't be here, this country wouldn't be here for these individuals. Veterans Day are for people who did survive, who are actively battling, the real world, being back home or wherever they are, and just, it's not about active duty. It's not about the people that have passed. It's about the veterans that are here every day dealing with things, kind of some of the things that we spoke about. So those are the two differences in the big days. And a lot of people don't realize that, because on Memorial Day, people will think, active duty military and veterans. Well, it's not about those people. It's about the people who have passed, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Because Veterans Day is more about, like you said, it's about the active duty and the all just pretty much everyone who's even active duty, retired, people that are going through things, people that are alive is Veterans Day, where Memorial Day is, hey, the reason we're able to enjoy, you know, drinking on this day and barbecues and the beach and all this, all these is because there were the, it's like the, for the Marines, like the few, the proud, the Marines, this select group of people that gave their life so that we can live the way we do. And I think that it's just crazy how many people just, like you said, are ignorant of the true meaning of Memorial Day. And I think that's sad. So I think, if I can try to bring some sort of awareness to, and I know it's only January, I know it's in a few months, but just bring some awareness to those holidays, I think is something that I don't mind doing personally.
No, that's good. Education is key. And to go back to, I never joined the military for praise, or I still don't know when people say thank you for your service. I still don't know how to respond to that, because I never did it for anything or anyone else. All I did it for myself, to push me and see what I was made up as a man, both physically and mentally. So, if you're willing to do those things and bring awareness for those people, that's amazing, and it's much appreciated.
Yeah, I think for anyone out there, if you see someone, because I always do this, if you see someone, if you see a veteran, they're wearing a hat, let's say like World War II veteran, even though sadly I don't know how many World War II veterans are going to be left just because of what year it is and obviously their age. But if you see someone who's a Korean War vet, a Vietnam vet, someone from, Afghanistan, or someone who served in Iraq, if you can tell them thank you for your service, it means the world to them. A little story was, a game I was playing in, like I was in the box, obviously, stupid, took a penalty, but the guy in the box was wearing a hat, like saying he's a veteran. So I told him, hey, thank you for your service. And he really, really appreciated that, because I feel like not many people come up to those individuals and say, hey, thank you for your service. Thank you for making a sacrifice so that we can do what we do here. So I think if you can do something as small as going up to someone and saying, hey, thank you for your service, you're appreciated, I think it means the world to them personally.
Yeah, it does. And then you'll get like the gentleman you spoke about, and then you'll get some generations who still don't know how to really react to that, because for whatever reason, but those small words and having those, uh, appreciative words mean a lot. They mean something to me. I've never been able to understand how to react. Um, uh, but it does mean a lot, because you have an individual who's taking time out of their day to say, hey, thank you for what you did. And then, it's very kind.
Especially since what we've been talking about with how people as people who are veterans don't get treated very well. It's like when someone does treat a veteran well, it's almost like you said, you don't know how to react because you're used to the bad, so you don't really know how to react to the good. And it's obviously just about trying to internalize that, yeah, there are people that actually do like me, that do actually care about me and liked what I did for the betterment of our country. So it takes time, but like you said, you just got to sometimes trust the process in that kind of way.
Yep. It's a long process, a process that will take quite some time, but exactly, you hit it right on the head.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask was, looking back on it, what are some things you've learned about yourself with your time in the armed forces?
Um, that truly anything is possible. Learning how to take uh, mental toughness, and really learning how to take uh, like taking your mind out of your body and pushing yourself through the hardest things that anyone on earth could possibly imagine. Is if you set your mind something, your mind is the most powerful muscle in your body, and if you're able to nurture and treat and train your minds, your body will follow, and you can achieve anything that you want to do. Um, that you set yourself up for. That's the biggest thing that I can pass, and I've went through the depths of hell, almost like a roller coaster of different things while in service and post service.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's possible.
For sure. Well, I don't know if this is, it's kind of funny for me, but when you say anything is possible or anyone says it, the first thought that comes into my head is, and I'm not sure if it's just because this is where I'm at now, but I think of Kevin Garnett after winning the '08 championship in the NBA, and he goes, anything is possible. Like, that's what I think of first. But no, you're right. I mean, if you, like we said, if you could set your mind to something, and it doesn't matter what it is, if you could set your mind to something, and but it's not just that, but if you can actually put in the work and execute, then yeah, nothing's impossible. Anything can happen.
Exactly, and so many people have so many different excuses, or they don't want to do the work, or they want other people to do the work, or whatever it may be. All you can really do is just try to find out, have an opportunity, or to surround yourself with mentors, or just all I've really wanted in life was an opportunity, and then kind of go from there. And but it's all up here between the ears, and a lot of people don't realize that. But me being older, the body is definitely in rehabilitation from all the things I put myself through when I was younger, and what happened
Mm-hmm.
while.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting question I also wanted to ask was, did you ever break any rules while you were in service? And if so, for anyone that does break rules, what's the punishment or what's the protocol that happens?
What do you mean by break rules?
No, okay, so what I mean is, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what rules, but it's like if you had, let's say, a set of rules within, like, let's say boot camp or whatever it was, like
Yeah.
you weren't supposed to go, you're supposed to be in your barracks at, let's say, like, let me think of the time real quick. Let's say 2,200 hours, right? Sorry, I had
Yeah.
to do the conversion. 2,200, but let's say you snuck off or something like that, and you're not back till, let's say, 22:30. Like, what would the repercussions be for something like that?
Those all vary time to time. It just depends on who's in charge of you and what happens and that type of stuff. But when I was in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of typhoons and earthquakes. But one of the biggest rules you're supposed to have is, like, when there's a typhoon coming through, you're supposed to lock down in your barracks. Well, when you're in the middle of nowhere and you have a bunch of alpha males in a barracks trying to find things to do, you create all kinds of fun things like surfing and jumping off of rooftops with ponchos and poncho liners, making your own parachutes. And then there's this a squad base. So pretend like because you're at school. So like your school, there's like a hallway. There's a door at each end of the hallway. Well, if you open up the other, huge gusts of wind will go pull through. So what you do is, you remember those desk chairs that like can spin with the wheels?
Oh, yeah. I'm in one right now.
Exactly. So pretend like you're that at one end of the hallway with a made up parachute on the back, and that flies you all the way down the hall at like 20 miles an hour. So these were some things that were not looked upon at the greatest, but were executed perfectly.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. That actually does sound pretty fun, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah. It's you become very innovative when you have lots of time and natural disasters are happening.
For sure. So transitioning, I actually wanted to play a game with you. We're gonna play word association. So I got a game I play on the show. So I got 5 words. I'm gonna read them to you. Like, I'm gonna start with one, and I want you to say the first word that pops in your mind when I say it. So the first one is Reveille, or it's like like
Not even saying it right, PK.
Reveille, yeah, Reveille,
Reveille.
Reveille.
There. First thing I think of is trumpet.
I think of Wake Up because obviously, well, Reveille, for anyone that doesn't know, it's basically like the French word for waking up. So obviously, like everyone's heard the tune, but that's what's played for people in the army to wake up, correct? Not just a movie thing, I don't think.
On base is like on base, like if you're on base, like it'll play in the morning at a certain time, whatever that base designation time is.
And it's usually and isn't it usually between like 0500 and it's usually like 0500 between like 0500 and like 0800 or something like that.
Yeah, it varies. Like if you're during boot camp, it's set. If you're on a different base, like training area, it's set. So it all varies from base to base or training area.
So okay, so if you had to give an over under number on how many times you've heard Reveille in your career with the military, what number, what would you set the line at?
1500. I don't even know.
That's a lot. Oh my, yeah. Talk about a song getting ingrained in your brain. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Next one, we're gonna go. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
It's a tune I'll never forget.
Well, I don't think you can. Shoot. Next we
No,
got. Yeah, it is. Next we got dog tags.
Hidden.
Hidden. I'm gonna say when I think of dog tags, I think of like identification, or at least like usually everyone has a dog tag on them. What do you remember about your dog tags, if you had any?
I did have them, but they were always hidden because people realized, like, obviously when you're down the range, if you have dog tags and you're like, there's other people from the other side you don't want to see you, like you can't have them clinging around. You can't have them being signed because they're shiny. So I had one dog tag and it was in my left boot, and there was electrical tape over it so you couldn't see it or wouldn't reflect in sunlight or anything like that. So there was always hidden.
That's smart. Next word we're gonna go is engage.
Engage.
Yep, engage.
Oh wow. A puck.
A puck. I'm gonna say when I think of engage, I'm gonna say enter or getting ready. So why do you say your word?
Puck, because
Yeah.
obviously I played a little bit of goalie in my life, and first thing I think of is like a shooter coming down, you're engaged with the puck and ready for it.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I agree. Next we're gonna say is rank.
Position.
Yeah, I was gonna say either position or a certain rank that comes to mind is like colonel, general, just the different like higher ups in the military.
Yep.
And then the last one is core, like the core.
Like the Marine Corps, or like core value, or like
Just
COR.
like no, yeah, like CORP, like the Marine Corps, yeah, like the core.
Oh, you want? Oh boy, politics.
Politics. Interesting. I would say yeah, Marine Corps, I guess. Or even weirder was an inside joke that happened with me and Igor this summer was there's a I don't know if anyone's SpongeBob fan, they've seen the episode, but there's a clip he sent me where Patrick is like in an army hat, and they're like Squidward's like, Patrick, what are you doing? And he's like, sir, I thought the Corps. He's like, I joined the Corps to help straighten out my life, sir. And he's like, the Corps. He's like, what?
Yeah. No,
But
there's politics.
And we don't have obviously we don't have to get into the minutia of the politics, but what about politics go with the Corps?
Man, that's a whole nother series, let alone episode.
That is a whole nother that is a whole nother one.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm just politics, man.
Politics. Jeez, yeah, we don't need to get started on that, but yeah, obviously I appreciate you coming on. A question I had was who would you like to see me bring on the show in the future?
Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I would say Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil. That would be a great one. Phil at Larionov Hockey Gym in Russia. Anyone that doesn't know, this guy's a legend. He actually is he's actually friends with Ovechkin. I think he played hockey with him growing up in Russia. He's a great trainer. I would love to chat with him. I might have to learn a bit of Russian for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
I
But
mean,
he knows English, but I think he'd be good. He'd be a
yeah,
good chat.
for sure. I'm trying to remember who was. I don't know if it was you, Sato, or someone. Someone actually did recommend you to come on the show. So it was
On the show?
yeah. I think it was you. I'll have to go back and check the archives, but someone did recommend you to come on the show. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I feel the love, boys. Thanks.
Oh
Thanks.
yeah.
I
Of
appreciate that.
course. A few other final things is give the audience a good or give them a funny Igor Jr. story.
Oh my God.
Since he works his way into pretty much every episode just because there's so many things that come up. But yeah, what's a funny story that he'll hear since he'll listen to this?
Oh boy. The funniest one that I remember is, or not remember, there's a ton of them, but I feel like I was his professional U-Haul driver. So
Explain.
I can't tell you how many trips I've moved our dear friend, but I love him. I have seen so much different setups, but definitely moved him quite a few places. So, but a funny story. One time we were in Russia and we were supposed to have dinner together, and then obviously I'm not Russian and I don't speak fluent Russian, and they're like, nope, you can't go to dinner anymore. I'm like, perfect. What am I gonna do? So I went and hung out in this room, and like 25, 30 minutes later, Igor Jr. pops in with some pizza, and he goes, here you go, CL. I knew you were hungry, and gives me some pizza and some chicken wings. So it was a funny line.
Oh, for sure. And then obviously the famous story that was told was you eating the shrimp in Russia.
Me eating the
Yeah.
shrimp?
The
Who told
the
that?
the well, no, I remember with you we were like talking about the Ozuri, and he's like, yeah, you don't eat the shrimp in Ozuri.
Not eat the shrimp. Nope. Niet.
That's yeah. So anyone who goes to Ozuri, Russia, and there's shrimp, avoid it.
At all costs.
Yeah, your bowels will thank you later.
You'll be stuck in a room dying for quite some time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So where can the listeners and viewers find you on social just to kind of keep up with what you're up to in the future?
Well, not just me, but more like I have Instagram, but more my woman's Instagram. We do some weekly episodes on there of like some name games, kind of our life and our family, and kind of just follow me there. So that's kind of where I'm at.
What's the name of it for everyone to go find it?
So it's Riley Renee Beauty Co. So she's a makeup artist and stuff like that. So
nice,
so
nice. That's good.
all like the family stuff, our type of stuff, so stuff like that. So she's
Mhm.
way more than I am. So
Hey,
kind
no shame in that. No, it's all good. No, that's all good. But yeah, I can't thank you enough, Larry, for coming on the show. It was good to catch up and hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah, you too, big man. We'll talk soon, and you have a good day, and the best to all the listeners.
Yep. Thank you. Once again, huge thanks to Lawrence Miller for hopping on the show. It was really good to catch up with him. I had not seen him in a while. funny story about Lawrence was when I was in Detroit over the summer in 2020, back when Igor lived there. So like I would go see him and the boys. I'd drive up there, stay with a lovely past billet family, Robin and Kathleen. They're the best. Shout out those two. And Lawrence would play soccer with us on Saturdays. And this guy had such an interesting style of soccer. Oh my goodness, it was so funny. But even funnier, this guy tried to not only be a player, he tried to be the ref too. So guys would like, guys would like commit fouls, or I would take someone out and he'd be like, "That's a penalty," even though we didn't. It's like, dude, you're not the ref, you're a player. But there was even one time he was coming like I kind of bodied him off the ball, came in and scored, and I was so hyped. I'm like, let's go. So that was great. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that interview. As always, podcast Instagram, PK's Place Podcast. I post clips, everything, new episode, post everything regarding the pod. Go check that out. Let's grow that pod Instagram. My personal Instagram is p.hughes15. Check me out. I post a lot of good photos there. Remember, follow, subscribe to the YouTube, turn the bell on for notifications so you get notified when I post the video versions of these. So hello to everyone who's watching. I just waved, those that can't see. And yeah, go subscribe also to Spotify, Spotify or Apple Podcast, whatever one you listen to. Leave a 5-star rating. Everything done in that way is very nice. It's very appreciated, and means a lot to me. And yeah, that is it for this week. I will see everyone next week. Have a great week.
Baby